Hello everybody, this is Courtney with Fiber Fox Studios, and today I'm going to teach you guys this really gorgeous stitch in order to create either a summer poncho that I'm quite sure could be worn in the colder months with a really nice turtleneck or something, or you can make this into a beach cover up. And you're going to be referring down to the description for the amount of chains you need to start with, as well as the number of rows, depending on which project you're going to be doing. All that information is going to be down below in the description. But I just wanted to start out by giving a close-up. I know with the thumbnails and the pictures in the beginning of the video, you did see my finished project, and I don't know how well these really pretty stitches showed. So we have a triple crochet that's forming an X, and then we're working in double crochets. And this stitch is a 2-row repeat. So it's very, very, very simple to remember. You're going to catch on really quickly, and you can use it for a lot of different projects. I could easily see this being turned into a market bag as well, and kind of the list goes on with different things that you could make with this. So we're going to talk just real quick about the yarn that I used for those of you who are interested in the exact yarn I used. So I used this Yarn Bee Dazzling in the colorway Pool. I ended up going through 3 skeins of this for my project, but I will have information down below for the suggested number of yards that you will need for your project. Now this Yarn Bee Dazzling is a 3.5 ounce ball or skein, and it is 256 yards per skein. So let's take a look real quick and see. This is the lot number and everything of what I used, but I actually didn't match the lot numbers and came up with really similar panels, but they do have some differences in the colors that I actually like. This particular yarn is considered to be, as you will see right there, a medium for weight. So this is a worsted weight or aran weight yarn. You can use any yarn that you want to do this project. You would just, of course, if you're using a smaller yarn, you're going to adjust your stitches just a little bit so that you can achieve the overall width and length that you're wanting. And of course, if you're using smaller yarn, you're probably going to use a little bit more than me, well, quite a bit more than me. So keep that in mind as well. And I happen to have picked this yarn up because it is 100% acrylic, it's 98% acrylic, 2% polyester. That's why I chose this yarn for this particular project for myself, because that polyester gives it a little bit of stretch and movement that I really, really like. And I do feel like this is on the lighter side of a 4-weight, so keep that in mind as well. It's still a 4-weight. I definitely agree that it's a 4-weight when it's worked up, but it is a lighter 4-weight. If you're going to be doing something like the beach cover up, I definitely suggest using a cotton yarn or a cotton blended yarn, just because water and absorbency and all that sort of thing. This wouldn't really provide that with it being 98% acrylic and 2% polyester. So we're going to jump in and get started. I'm going to be using a solid yarn so that you guys can see what I'm doing. I'm just going to teach you the stitch, and then we'll move right along to construction of the piece and then the border that I chose. So I will have the measurements of my finished, which is 1X is my size. I'm going to have the measurements of the 2 finished panels, because you are going to be creating 2 identical panels in order to form either the poncho or the beach cover up. So I'm going to be using a 5mm hook today. That is the exact hook size that I used when I was doing the project as well, when I did my 2 panels. So keep that in mind, you're creating 2 panels. And we're going to start out, I'm going to use this color blue on screen. This is, just for those of you who are interested, it is the Hayfield. I know it's kind of glaring there on the label, sorry about that. It's the Hayfield Bonus DK Extra Value, and these are 100-gram balls, and the color number, it's a shade number on these, is 0824 for those of you who are interested. And I purchased this online at Daramore's if you are wanting the exact same color that I'm about to work in. Like I said, I'm going to be doing a small swatch, and we're going to start off by doing our slip knot. So All you need to do your slip knot, and you can do it whatever way you're comfortable with, is I prefer to wrap around these 2 fingers. So I have the tail over here on this side. I have my working yarn over here on the left hand side in between my thumb and index. So I've just wrapped around my center finger and the other finger. I don't know what that's called. Now I just simply move the yarn over in between my 2 fingers. So now we're just going to do that one more time for everybody. We're going to wrap around the 2 fingers, grab with our thumb and index the working yarn and move it over between the 2. And now you're just going to pinch and pull back. And now we're going to add our slip knot over to our hook. And if you're new to crochet, go ahead and grab a stitch marker. We're going to chain in multiples of 4 plus 3 at the end. And we're going to use that stitch marker because it's very easy. Too tightly on that slip knot and end up closing up one of your chains, which will throw off your count at the end. So you can insert a stitch marker here. So now we're just going to continue to chain in our multiples of 4, and then we're going to add 3 to the end. For all of you who are making one of the projects that I have designed, you are going to refer down to that description to get the total number of chains that you need. So you can go ahead and pause here. I did personally, just for those who are interested, I made my size, which is a 1X, and I chained a total of 132 chains plus 3 at the end for a grand total of 135 chains. So we'll be back in just a moment when you have your chain ready, and we'll move on to row 1 and 2. It's a super easy repeat for both of those rows, and it's a 2-row repeat for the stitch. So we'll be back in just a moment. And we are back, and I'm just going to finish up with the last few chains I need to finish up this multiple, and then I will have a total of 23 chains that I'm going to do my swatch out of. And you can follow along directly with me and do a small swatch, or you could be working on your whole project, which is what I hope you're doing. I hope you like it enough that you're going to do that. I've got a total of 20 chains, and all I'm going to do here is add the 3 on to the end so that we can finish up that multiple. So I've got 20 chains. Now I'm adding 3 to the end for a total of 23 chains for the swatch. Now what we're going to do is we're going to be doing a double crochet, chain 2, skip 2 type situation for the entire row 1. But to get started, we need to actually skip a total of 7 chains and work into the 8th chain. So what I mean by that is we never count this loop that's here on the hook. We're going to skip a total of 7 chains. So we are going to count, looking at our V's, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So here is the 7th chain. We're going to be skipping those, and we're going to go right here into the 8th chain. So we're going to wrap our yarn around our hook, and then I like to use my pinky to kind of pull this down out of the way. And we're going to go here into the 8th chain. Really important that we get into that one. And we are going to insert our hook. Now we're going to grab our yarn and pull up a loop. Grab our yarn and pull through 2. Grab our yarn and pull through 2 to complete our double crochet. So now our repeat for this row is going to begin. We're going to chain 2, 1 and 2. And then we are going to go back down here to our starting chain, and we're going to skip 2. So we're going to count those V's, 1 and 2, and we're going to do our double crochet into the 3rd. So going right there into that 3rd stitch, I'm making sure to get under the V. So I'm working under both those loops. Hopefully you can see. And we're going to complete a double crochet, and that ends our repeat. Super, super easy repeat. So we are going to continue on down the rest of our row, chaining 2, skipping 2 stitches down here on our beginning chain, on that starting chain right there, and we're going to double crochet into the 3rd, making sure we get under both those loops. And we'll finish out our double crochet, pull through 2, grab and pull through 2. So you will work all the way down the rest of your row, chaining 2, skipping 2, double crochet. And since I have a very short swatch that I'm doing, I'm going to show you how your row ends. But for those of you who have a whole lot to do and don't want to see this yet, you are going to go ahead and pause right now, and then we will meet back up when you are ready to do the end of the row. And we are back, and we're going to finish up that row end. So this is how each and every row 1 is going to end. You're going to be doing the same stitch. We're going to chain 2. We are going to skip 2. And our last stitch in this row is always going to be a double crochet. Move on up to row 2 now, and to move up to row 2, each and every time you're going to be chaining 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4. And now we're going to turn our work. So doing our triple crochets is actually really simple. We're going to wrap our yarn twice around our hook. We're going to be skipping this first chain 2 space and moving right here into the second, and we're just going to go and work right around that chain 2, and we're going to work directly around that and do our triple crochet. So we're going to pull up our loop, we're going to grab and pull through 2, we are going to grab and pull through 2, and we're going to grab and pull through 2. Now we're going to chain 1, and we are going to wrap twice around our hook again to do another triple crochet, and we are going to be coming back to this chain 2 space that we skipped. And the way I like to do this is I like to come back down here and work behind it. So I just go right in behind that chain 2 space. So this is what that looks like. Let me stretch that out for you. So I've just inserted right around the back of the chain 2, and I'm going to grab my yarn and pull up a loop. I'm going to grab my yarn and pull through 2, grab my yarn and pull through 2, and grab my yarn and pull through 2 to complete that triple crochet. And now we've made our first little X. So now we're going to move on to the next space, and this time we are not chaining anything, and this is going to be your repeat for this entire row. We're going to wrap twice around our hook. We're going to go right there into the next chain 2 space. So here's the one we just worked in. Now we're going to go right here into the very next one, and we're going to insert our hook and pull up a loop. We are going to grab and pull through 2. We're going to grab and pull through 2, and we're going to grab and pull through 2. Now we're going to chain 1, and we're going to wrap twice around our hook again. And this time we're going to be going back here to this chain 2 space that we already worked in. We're going to go behind that chain 2 space and bring up our hook. We're going to grab our yarn, and you can just turn your work however you need to until you get comfortable with this stitch. And we're going to pull up a loop. We're going to grab and pull through 2. We're going to grab and pull through 2. And we're going to grab and pull through 2. So now when we take a look, we have just completed our second X. So we're going to keep working in this exact same manner all the way down the rest of the row. So we're going to wrap twice around our hook. We're going to go into the very next chain 2 space. We're going to grab and pull up a loop. We're going to grab and pull through 2. We're going to grab and pull through 2. And we're going to grab and pull through 2. Now we chain 1, and then we are going to wrap twice around our hook again, and then we go back to this chain 2 space that we already worked in, and we're going to go around the back side of that chain 2. We're going to grab our yarn and pull up a loop. We're going to grab and pull through 2. We're going to grab and pull through 2, and we're going to grab and pull through 2. So you can go ahead and pause here and keep working in that exact same manner all the way down till the end of the row. And then when you have met up at the end of your row, we'll be meeting back up at that point to work the row in together. So please pause here and come back to me when you are ready to finish up row 2. So here we are at the end of row 2, and we've got one chain 2 space left. In this case, we have a chain 7 here, but we're going to work it just like we would work any of these other chain 2 spaces. We're going to wrap our yarn twice around our hook. We're going to come down into this last space, and we're going to grab our yarn and pull up a loop. We're going to grab our yarn and pull through 2. We're going to grab our yarn and pull through 2, and grab our yarn and pull through 2. Now we are going to chain 1, and we're going to wrap twice around our hook again. and go back over here into this same chain space that we just came out of previously. So we're going to go backwards to this chain 2, just like we've been doing, and we're going to grab and pull up a loop. We're going to grab and pull through 2. We're going to grab and pull through 2, and we're going to grab and pull through 2. So I just keep turning my work as I need to, just so that I can work into those spaces. Once you get this built up a little bit better, you will find a rhythm. So now to end the row, to end row 2, we're going to chain 1, and we're going to wrap our yarn around our hook twice, and we are going to be working into the top of the chain 3 space. So, or I'm sorry, into the top of the chain 3 in this case. So you're either going to be ending row 2 by working into the top of a chain 3, or you're going to be working into the top of a double crochet. It's going to be one or the other. So in this case, we've got just a chain that we began the row out with. So we're going to count 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and we're going to go into the top of the 5th stitch. This is the only time that you're going to have to do that. The rest of the rows, it's going to be really defined, easy to see, and I'll go over that with you in just a moment. So now we're going to finish out our triple crochet, and that is the end of row number 2. So now we're going to go ahead and work on our new row 1. I'm going to show you how you're going to be placing your double crochets for all the continuing rows from this point forward. So to start out with each new row 1 of the repeat, you are always going to chain 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Now we're going to turn our work. And now it's very simple. We're going to wrap our yarn once around our hook because we're going to be doing a double crochet. And we're going to be skipping over this chain space, skipping over this triple crochet, and going right there in the center of those 2 triple crochets. So we're going to be working in the center of the X. So we're going to wrap, and we're going to do a double crochet right there in the center in that chain 1 space. So we're going to do our double crochet, and then our repeat begins for this row. We're going to chain 2, 1 and 2. And we are going to move over here to this next X. So we're going to skip over all of this. We're going to come right here in between those 2 triple crochets, I mean. So we're going to come into that chain 1 space, and we are going to do our double crochet to end our repeat for this row. So now we're going to chain 2 again, 1 and 2, and do our repeat again. We're going to go right there in the center in that chain 1 space in between those 2 X's that we created, or in between the X we created, and we're going to be working in that exact same manner all the way down to the end of the row. So you're going to keep chaining 2 and doing a double crochet right there in the chain 1 space in between those triple crochets all the way down this entire row. Super, super easy. So you can pause here and you can meet back up with me when you are ready to do the row end, and we will do that row end together, and that's how you're going to be ending all of the row 1 repeats for this pattern. This is our new row 1. And we are back. We're here at the end of the row. We're going to chain 2, 1 and 2, and now we have a chain 4 that began this previous row, and we're going to count up from the bottom to the 3rd chain. So we're going to count 1, 2, and 3, and we're going to do a double crochet right there into the top of that chain 3. So we are going to work our double crochet right there in the top of the chain 3. 1, 2, and 3, and just do 1 double crochet. So now from here, you're going to keep repeating the same exact thing until you've built out your entire poncho, or if you are doing the beach cover up, you're going to keep continuing on doing the number of rows listed down below in the description. For my size 1X, I did a total of 26 rows. Then you're going to repeat the same thing for a second panel. So we have to create 2 identical panels. Make sure that if you are working with a color changing yarn, that you save some of the color. If you have light colors, like in my example right here, to show you guys. I have a lighter color at the start of each panel. So make sure that if you're using a color changing yarn that you do save a certain amount so that you can actually do your one seam up here at the join, because you're going to have a seam on each side leaving an opening for your neck. So you want to make sure that that yarn is going to be similar in color if you're using a color changing yarn. So do keep that in mind as you're working. That way you don't have to rob another ball of some more color, or maybe you don't even have an extra ball to rob from. So just keep that in mind. Make sure that you are keeping enough. From here, you're able to just keep working, doing the exact same thing. Row 2 does not change. You're going to be chaining up 4 and working it exactly as I have shown here. I will have the rewind times listed down in the description for you, so that if you do need help and need to see those rows again, you can just refer down to the description and click on the little timestamp, and it'll take you right to the beginning of the row. So when you have finished both panels, so you're going to make 2, when you finish both of them, come back and meet up with me and we will do the joining together, and then we're going to add a very simple border on to our project to finish up. You're only going to be joining in a few places. So we're back and we're about to start the construction part of this. So my panels ended up being about 33 inches wide, and I am leaving a kind of a boat neck opening. It's going to be 13 inches in the center. So all you need to do is grab a total of 4 stitch markers. I like to always mark my ends, like match up my 2 ends of my panel. I like to mark those with a stitch marker. So I lay it out nice and even and flat, and then I use a stitch marker to connect on this side, it's going to be the left top corner on the front panel to the left top corner on the back panel. So I mark it there, and then you can either, what I did is I actually counted out, because each of my panels are identical, I could count these boxes, and then I placed a stitch marker where I thought I would like my opening. I did that on the other side, and then I tried it on. And then you can adjust from there to get the fit that you like. So for me, I ended up coming over boxes right here, and that's where I marked. You can do it by measurement. I came in what ended up being a total of 10 inches in. So this is going to be laying down on my arm close to my elbow here on the very left edge of the poncho. So it meets just above my elbow when I have it on. So I did 10 inches in to mark for my join. And then I came over here to the other side and I did the exact same thing. So that's 2 ways that you can check. One by measurement, one by counting these boxes. As long as you have your panels lined up, you will have no trouble using those as a way to double check yourself. So once you have added your stitch markers in, you're going to be joining from the top right corner on the front and back panel all the way in to where you have marked. Then you'll be leaving a space, an opening for the neckline, and you'll be coming over to your other stitch marker, and you will then come to the top left edge, top left corner, and you will join from the front panel to the back panel all the way down and meet up to that stitch marker. So once you finish your joining, you'll be able to then add on the actual border for this piece, and you can do a completely different border. For those of you who are new to crochet, I'm going to briefly show you how to do the join. I like to do a single crochet join, and I am going to show this join in contrasting yarn so that you can see exactly what I'm doing, but it's super simple, and you can do a slip stitch join, a single crochet join, or you can always use your blunt end yarn needle and sew in and do a sewn join, like a whip stitch or something like that, if that's what you prefer. But I personally prefer the slip stitch join, so that's what we're going to do here. So if you do not need this instruction, I will have down in the description where you can jump forward to the border part. Alright, so I'm going to demonstrate the slip stitch join, And the key thing to all the joining is making sure that you get into the top corner of the panel. So in my case, this first panel is got the double crochet. So super easy to find the top of the double crochet. Obviously not on camera, but we're just gonna hop in there to the top of that double crochet. And then we're gonna go here to the back panel. And this time we have a chain 5. So we're going to count up 1, 2, 3. We're going to count 3 stitches up and make sure that we go into the top of the chain 3. That's where we want to be, nice and even. And we are going to just go into that stitch. Now we can grab our yarn and do a little slip knot and grab that with our hook and draw up that loop. So we're going to draw up the loop, and then I like to grab the tail and working yarn and chain 1 just to kind of lock that together. And then from here, all we're going to do for our slip stitch join is find each stitch, pick up 1 loop from each stitch minimum. You can go into both if you prefer. We're going to let that tail fall to the back, and then we're going to grab our yarn and pull it on through our work, and then we're going to pull it on through the loops that are on our hook. Go into the very next stitch. So we're going to go into a stitch on this side of the panel, and then we're going to go over here to the back side and go into the very next stitch on the back side, and we are going to grab and pull that on through, and grab and pull that on through the loop that's on our hook to do a slip stitch. So we just keep working that exact same way all the way down, grabbing at least 1 loop from the one of the loops from the very next stitch, and making sure that we go onto the back panel and doing the exact same thing. Grab a loop, then we can grab and pull through, grab and pull through, and that finishes that up as a slip stitch. So you're going to keep working that exact same way. You're going to meet up with your stitch marker, and then you will go over to the opposite side. So I'm joining on the right side right now, what will be my right arm and shoulder, and you're just going to move over to the left side after you finish this and work up to your stitch marker and double check your measurements. Always double check and make sure that you're joining it up to the exact same spot, and then you will be finished with the joining for the project, and we can move directly on to the border. And for those of you who are not needing this instruction, as I said, I do have it marked down in the description on where you need to go in the video, where you can jump forward to just see the border option. So you can always do any border that you like, but once you finish your slip stitch join, this is what the work is going to look like all the way up to that stitch marker. Nice secure join. You won't have a lot of pulling apart, and this is why I said make sure that you save some of that yarn that's in a similar color, because you don't want to see this join. If this was matching yarn, if it was one of these colors here that I have on my panel, the lighter color, you would not see this join when you turn the project basically inside out, because right now we're creating a defined inside to the top. So the wrong side, this is now going to be our wrong side, and when we turn it the other way, we will have our right side facing out. So we'll be back in just a moment to work on the border. And we are back, and we're doing the border now. So I'm showing you guys real quick. This right here, I've done just the simple Picot border along the open edge that's going to be at your sides. So you're going to have open edges down at the side or along your sides. This border right here goes at the bottom edge of the poncho or the beach cover up, whichever you're doing. So I'm going to kind of stretch this just a little bit so you can maybe see it a little better, because I do have dark yarn right here. So hopefully that helps you to see what you're doing. So we're just going to be doing a few little cluster stitches. We're crocheting 2 together, and then we do a cluster that we do basically on top of each other to form this little pom-pom, some chain 5s, really simple work to do this really cute border. Hopefully you guys like that. If you don't though, of course you can always do a different border. Now we're going to start by doing a real brief demonstration on how you do the Picot, and then I'll move into this right here you'll be working on your finished piece. The main thing you want to make sure is that at this point, when you're working, you are going to have the right side. So make sure your joins are on the inside. You're going to have the right side facing you when you are adding your border. So now where we did the slip stitch or single crochet join, that is going to be turned so that if you were to take this piece and put it on, your right side is now facing out at you. So make sure that you have not got it flipped inside out when you start doing the border. That is my main tip. I love to mess that up all the time and do that to myself. So we're going to start right now with the Picot edge. So grab your yarn, and I'm going to be working, of course, in a different yarn so that you can see exactly what I'm doing. And I just wanted to point out, this is what my permanent join ended up looking like. Doing that slip stitch join, you can see there is a little ridge here. So this is where you want to make sure that at this point you go ahead and turn your project on around so that where that join is no longer visible. You don't have the ridge. So we are going to be joining on our yarn, or we should already be in the corner, quite possibly finishing a panel. But either way, we're going to make sure that we're in the corner right here. I have it marked because I have part of my border done on my project. So we're on our side now. This is going to be, in my case, this is the left side of the project. So if I were to stretch it on down and show you, down this way, I have the side of my neck opening or head hole right there. The join is right here. So I'm working along this side. Hopefully that's nice and clear. You guys understand where you're putting the picots. So we're just going to go into the corner stitch, and I'm going to say start at the bottom edge of your project. And I know we're going to have to share a spot right here with existing yarn, but I don't want to pull this work out. So hopefully you can see clear enough to know what we're going to do. So we're just going to join on our yarn and pull up a loop. And then I like to grab the tail and working yarn and chain one. I'm going to go back down that same exact space, letting my tail fall. And we're going to do a single crochet. Now from here, we're going to be working in these spaces all along the side. So we were working in the opposite direction previously when we were building out these panels. So these are going to be the end stitches. So the ends of your rows is where you're working. So I personally want to go ahead and chain up 3 and do a picot right here at the corner. So you chain up 3 and then you come back down to these 2 little bumps that are formed at the front of our single crochet, and we're going to go under those 2 bumps. So once we go under those, we're just going to grab our yarn and pull it on through, and then we're going to grab and or keep it and pull it on through the loop that's on our hook, and that forms our first picot. So for my project with the tension and all that I have, I was able to do 2 to 3 single crochets into these, working right around those side stitches. So we're just working directly around those. So there's 2 single crochets. Now I'm going to do a 3rd single crochet. I just moved right over to this next space, and then the 4th single crochet. Now I chain up 3. So that's how I like to space mine, as I do 4 single crochets and then I do the picot on the top of the 4th one. So I've chained up 3. And now I'm going to go back down here to my single crochet, and I'm just going to slide under those 2 bumps that are right there in the front of it. And then I'm going to grab my yarn and I'm going to slip stitch on through all of those loops, including the loop that's on my hook. So now I'm going to, it makes sense for me to work right here in this space. We don't want to jump over here and kind of make our work scrunch up. So I'm going to move right here. There's like a perfect little hole. And I'm just going to start with my single crochets again. So I'm going to do a total of 4. So there's 1. And then I'm going to do 2, working right around that stitch. Here's number 3. And now it looks like the best place for me to move into is right here in this space. The main point is you don't want to add too many single crochets into one area and cause it to stretch it out, and you don't want to do too few and cause it to bunch it in. So now I've done my 4th single crochet. We're going to chain up 3. Now we go back down and find those 2 little bumps, slide under and slip stitch. Now, since this is going to be worked on the sides of the panel, this is going to be the longest. It's going to take you the most time to do the Picot edge because you have all of this fabric to work down until you get to the bottom edges of your poncho or beach cover-up. So the last edge that you worked is, or the last row you worked when you were creating your panels, needed to be the row 2 so that we have these X's to work into. So I'm now going to move on to show you guys how to do the bottom edging, so that what's going to be at the bottom of your work on each panel. So you'll be doing this on the front and back panel to achieve this lovely look. Obviously it'd be laying in the other direction, but this is what we're going to be making on the edge. So we're going to move on to that now. So for all of you, you'll be finishing up your Picot edge on the first side of your panels. And so you'll come down here and you will make it around to the bottom edge of the panel. And at this corner, I have a Picot. It doesn't really matter if you do or not. Not in my opinion. It doesn't really take away from the design, but if you end up with a Picot, great. If you don't, you're just going to have your single crochet there in the corner stitch. We want to keep our panel nice and straight, and I know I'm bunching it up so it's not showing that, but we're going to begin our bottom edge border by chaining 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Now we're going to go right here into this second X. So we're going to be skipping over the first X, skipping over this space, and coming right here to the second. We're going to wrap our yarn around our hook. We're going to be doing a couple double crochet clusters. So we're going to wrap our yarn once around our hook. We're going to come into the second X, and we're going to insert our hook right into that chain 1 space. We're going to grab our yarn and pull up a loop. We're going to grab our yarn and pull through 2, and we're going to hold it. We're going to wrap our yarn around our hook again. We're going to come back down into the same exact space, and we're going to insert our hook, grab and pull up a loop. We're going to grab our yarn again and pull through 2, and we're going to hold it. So we have 3 loops on our hook. So now we're going to grab our yarn and we're going to turn our hook down towards our project so we can slide easily on through all 3 loops. Now we're going to chain 3. 1, 2, and 3. Now I want you to go ahead and pinch that 3rd stitch. Now we're going to chain 3 again. 1, 2, and 3. Now we're going to wrap our yarn and we're going to be doing some more clusters to form our pom-poms. So we're going to wrap our yarn around our hook. We're going to go right there into that first chain we made. So we're going right above where we were pinched, and we're going to insert our hook and grab and pull up a loop. We're going to grab and pull through 2, and we're going to hold it with the 2 loops on our hook. Now we're going to wrap our yarn around our hook again. We're going to go back down into that same exact stitch, and as you can see, it's nice and wide now. So we're going right back down in that same one and inserting our hook. We're going to grab and pull up a loop. So we've got 4 loops on our hook. We're going to grab and pull through 2. So now we have 3 loops on our hook. We're going to grab and pull through all 3 loops. Now we're going to chain up 3 again. 1, 2, and 3. We're going to wrap our yarn around our hook. We're going to come back to this first chain we made. So we're going to come right back to this chain. So wrap, go back down to that first chain and insert our hook. We're going to grab and pull up a loop. We're going to grab and pull through 2, and we're going to hold it with 2 loops on our hook. We're going to wrap our yarn around our hook again. We're going to go back down into the same exact space. So we're going into the same space again, and we're going to insert our hook. We're going to grab our yarn and pull up a loop. We're going to grab our yarn and pull through 2, and we're going to hold it with 3 loops on our hook. Now we're going to grab our yarn and we're going to turn our hook down towards our project, and we're going to pull through all 3 of those loops. So now we have these 2 pieces of our pom-pom. So we're going to join those together by folding it this way, and we're going to place our hook right through this large open area. That's where we were clustering before. We've made this large space. We want to go into there. We want to grab our yarn and do a slip stitch. So we're going to pull through and pull on through the loop that's on our hook. And I like to cinch that down, so I like to pull back on my working yarn to tighten that up. Now we're going to chain 3 again. 1, 2, and 3. And we're going to go back down into the same X space. So we're going right back down here. And we're going to wrap our yarn around our hook 1 time. And we're going to come back into the same space. And we're going to grab and pull up a loop. We're going to grab and pull through 2. And we're going to hold it with 2 loops on our hook. Now we're going to wrap our yarn again. We're going to go back down into the same space. We're going to grab our yarn and pull up a loop. We're going to grab our yarn and pull through 2. And now we're going to hold it with the 3 loops on our hook. We're going to grab our yarn. We're going to turn our hook down towards our project. And we're going to pull through all 3 of those loops. So now to end out this repeat for this border, we're going to chain 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Now we're going to come down here. We're going to skip this very next X, and we're going to go right here in between those 2 X's. So we're skipping 1 X. We're going to skip this, and we're going to come right down here in between these 2, and we are going to work a single crochet. That ends our repeat. This will kind of lay as it relaxes. It will lay into more of a pom-pommy looking shape. So now let's do that repeat one more time together. We're going to chain 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. We're going to be skipping this X right here, and we're going to come over here to this next one. So we're going to skip 1, work 1. We're going to wrap our yarn around our hook. Our repeat is started with the chain 5. So we're going to wrap our yarn around our hook. We're going to go right here in the center of that X, working in that chain 1 space. Grab and pull up a loop. Grab and pull through 2, and hold it with the 2 loops on my hook. I'm going to wrap my yarn around my hook again. I'm going to come back down in that same exact space, and I'm going to grab my yarn and I'm going to pull up a loop. I'm going to grab my yarn and pull through 2. Now I have 3 loops on my hook, so I'm going to grab my yarn and I'm going to turn it down towards my project and pull through all 3 of those loops. Now I need to chain 3. 1, 2, and 3. I'm going to pinch that 3rd chain, and now I'm going to chain 3 more. 1, 2, and 3. Now I'm going to wrap my yarn around my hook, starting to make my pom-poms. Now I'm going to come back down to that first chain right above where I'm pinching. I'm going to insert and pull up a loop. I'm going to grab and pull through 2. I'm going to hold it with 2 loops on my hook. I'm going to wrap my yarn again. I'm going to go back down into that same exact space. So I'm going back down that same chain, inserting my hook, pulling up a loop. grab and pull up a loop, and I'm going to grab and pull through 2. Now I've got 3 loops on my hook, so I'm going to grab and pull through all 3 of those loops. Now I'm going to chain up 3 again. 1, 2, and 3. I'm going to wrap my yarn around my hook. I'm going to come back down here into this first chain and insert my hook. I'm going to grab my yarn and pull up a loop. I'm going to grab and pull through 2. And I'm going to hold it with 2 loops on my hook. I'm going to wrap my yarn around my hook again. I'm going to come back down that same exact space, same chain, and I'm going to grab and pull up a loop. And I'm going to grab and pull through 2. I'm leaving 3 loops on my hook. So I'm going to grab and pull through all 3 loops. So now I've got my 2 pieces of my pom-pom. So I want to fold those together. And if you look right here, you always will see this big space. That's where we're going when we're closing out our pom-pom. So I just stick my hook towards that big space. And it kind of sandwiches those 2 together. So I grab my yarn. I'm going to slip stitch on through the loops that are on my hook. And that makes our little pom-pom. So now we chain 3 again. 1, 2, and 3. And we come back down here into the same space. And we're going to cluster 2 double crochets together. So we're going to grab, pull up a loop, grab and pull through 2, and hold it with 2 loops on my hook. Wrap my yarn again, go back down in the same exact space, grab and pull up a loop, grab and pull through 2, and then I have 3 loops on my hook, so I'm going to grab and pull through all 3 of those loops. Now I chain 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and I'm going to come down here. I'm going to skip this next X. So I'm going to be skipping this one right here. We just worked in this one. And skip this one. And I'm going to go right here to the space in between these 2. And I'm going to do a single crochet. And then I can begin my repeat all over again. Chaining 5 and moving on just like I've shown you. So when you stretch this out and you take a look, this is what your work is going to look like as you complete your border. Obviously, it looks a lot better when it's done in the appropriate color yarn, but you guys get the drift. From here, if you need more help with this part of the border, you can rewind the video, and I will also have this down in the description, the start time for the bottom edge border. So I'll have one that says where we start for the Picot, and one that says where we start for the bottom edge border. So I hope you guys have enjoyed this tutorial. As always, thank you so much for watching. Please make sure that you like this video by giving it a thumbs up if you have enjoyed it. If you have any questions, as always, you can leave a comment down below. I also have my email address in the description if you have a kind of more complex question. I doubt you guys will, because this is a more easy pattern. But I hope that you've enjoyed it, and please, as always, make sure that you are subscribed so you never miss any of my tutorials. I do not only the wearables, but I also teach mosaic crochet, and I'm going to keep expanding from there into some more accessories and household items and that sort of thing. So there's lots and lots and lots to come. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Until next time, bye for now.